I'm not gonna lie, I don't really understand why the Jazz decided to extend Lauri Markkanen at this point, making him ineligible to be traded for the entire upcoming season. And it has nothing to do with how I feel about Lauri Markkanen as a player. I think Lauri Markkanen is a fantastic player, all-star 2 years ago, most improved player, great player. It has nothing to do with the money, over 200 million. Yeah, that's a lot, but it still doesn't detract from the teams that would want to trade for him, because he's still in his prime right now. It locks him up, and I think also his skill set as a 7-footer who can shoot the way he does makes him insanely valuable, where any team could in theory plug him into their lineup and not lose anything, and it would still be great. So it has nothing to do with that. The reason I have an issue with this move for the Jazz is because it just makes me wonder, what's their plan? Like, why are they so insistent on running this team back that's been the 12th seed in each of the last 2 years? Like, so you trade for Markkanen and you don't even know what you have, and then he blossoms into an all-star. And so, okay, I understand you don't trade him because you don't even realize what you have until it's there. And then, this past season, okay, the draft wasn't so good, so it wasn't, a dire need to blow everything up and tank, because there's no like massive prize at the end. There's no, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if you blow things up. But now you're at this point where, okay, you sort of know what you have in Markkanen. The newness factor of, oh my God, this is so exciting. Let's just run this, for like a year or two, because it's still just so fun to watch. Like, that's sort of worn off, where it's back-to-back 12th seed. So it's kind of like, okay, we know what this team is, and it's not so great. The ceiling isn't so great. And I don't, I like certain pieces on the Jazz, but it doesn't really seem like there's so much room for them to grow even into, just a playoff team. And part of that is because of them, and part of that is because the rest of the West is just so deep. And, let alone, I don't think they could become a contender with this core, not anytime soon, not anytime in Markkanen's prime. And so you consider that they've done this now, this whole song and dance, for 2 years, so it's kind of grown stale. You consider that you can get so much for Lauri Markkanen, because he's such a valuable player, and because so many teams would want him. But the biggest thing is that you consider that this upcoming draft has such a great prize in Cooper Flag, and to put yourselves in a worse position to win that ultimate prize. Obviously, you never know with the lottery. There's no guarantee in anything, especially with the flat odds over the last few years. We've seen the worst teams, fall really far in the lottery, like a Detroit. But I just think you should be doing everything in your power to put yourselves in a better position for the future. And I think hanging out to Lauri Markkanen even just one more year, just to trade him next summer, yeah, you're still going to get a great haul. You could have gotten that same haul this past year, assuming Markkanen was willing to extend with another team. And if he wasn't, then I guess that's a whole different conversation. I just think if you're the Jazz, you're sort of shooting yourselves in the foot by running this mediocre team back. You also have to consider that they owe a top 10 protected pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder as part of the deal that got rid of Derek Favors, 3-4 years ago now. So you want that pick. You still want to own that pick. You don't want to give that pick to the Thunder, but by keeping Markkanen, you definitely enhance your chance of giving that pick away, of lessening your chances for one of those draft picks who, like, Cooper Flag can really be franchise changing. Like, if you get him, that's like I don't know if he's like as good as like the Wemby or the Zion, that hype, but like, he's still supposed to be really, 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 really good. Like, it's a Cooper Flag sweepstakes. That's the best way I can describe it. So to bring in Lauri Markkanen a day later than you could have, thereby, he's ineligible to be traded, because you can't be traded after an extension after 6 months, which brings it past the trade deadline. It sounds good, and it's definitely good for loyalty, but it's just kind of surprising to see from Danny Ainge, a guy who we know in the past, Isaiah Thomas, he's been very ruthless in terms of the trades he made. And look, maybe there just wasn't a Lauri Markkanen trade that he liked. I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, if, I know teams always like to talk about, we still want to be competitive. We want to put a quality product out there. But like, at the end of the day, if it harms your long-term future, or your chances at a great long-term future, which this move undoubtedly does for the Jazz, I just don't like it. It always sounds great in the moment, and then you wind up with the 8th pick when you maybe could have gotten like a top pick, and it's like, oh, well, I kind of wish we went the other direction. Like, yeah, it would have hurt in the moment, but long-term it would have been better for us. And that's how I feel about this Jazz team. It feels nice short-term to retain this guy who wants to be there, who was an all-star a couple years ago, most improved, but like long-term, I feel like it's going to put them in a worse position.